Hey YouTube, it's Annabelle. So today I'm going to be doing a video on pacifiers. I'm going to talk about our experience with pacifiers and what I kind of know about pacifiers, and also like the debate around pacifiers, and then I'm going to talk about some alternatives to pacifiers as well. Okay, so first I'm going to start off with our story. Okay, so my daughter is 2.5, but when we were preparing for her birth and like to bring her home and have a baby and everything, we thought that the pacifier was one of like the big, huge necessities that we had to have. Like we needed one on every floor, had to have it. We have a ton of pacifiers from her that we never ended up using. This is actually the pacifier that we got in the hospital for her, like that the hospital like provided, and she would not take it at all. Now, like we were just like, oh my gosh, like is there something wrong? Like she won't take a pacifier. All babies take pacifiers, right? No, not all babies take pacifiers, and we learned that with our daughter. And again, we have evidence of like all of our pacifiers that we thought that we needed that we didn't. And so I kind of put them in a bag, and I was just like, well, like every child is different, so maybe our son will end up taking a pacifier. Now, like this was the one that the hospital gave like 2.5 years ago when we had my daughter, and now these are the pacifiers that they are giving now at the hospital. So this is my son's pacifier that was available for him or whatever at the hospital, and he didn't want it, but he would like take it. If you kind of like just like jiggled it around in his mouth, he would take it. We do keep this one on hand like for my son, like for emergency purposes only. We had a couple of instances where we had to put this in his mouth and like jiggle it around for him to then take his bottle. So we had him like suck a couple times on this, and then we would just like switch it out and he would have his bottle. And we had to do that a couple times, so that was kind of strange. But my son also used this during his hearing test at the hospital because he was like squawking a little bit. Like he wasn't crying or anything, but he wouldn't be quiet. So they did give him a pacifier in the hospital. And like I was like, no, like let's not even do it. My daughter didn't need one, my son won't need one either. However, this did keep him quiet during the hearing test. And again, we've had this on hand. We used to keep it in his car seat until he was about 2 months old, and then we just took it out. We have it in the house again just in case he wants it, but we don't like give this to him like just for no reason. In the beginning, I did give it to him like if we were at the doctor's office and like I could not nurse him because we were on our way out the door and he was screaming. I did pop it in his mouth just to kind of like save face, like so my baby wasn't like screaming bloody murder on her way out. Just for like those reasons, like just in case of an emergency where we couldn't get home, or like I couldn't like throw a boob out at him or anything like that, we did keep this. Okay, so that is kind of like my story, my experience with pacifiers. Okay, so now I'm going to kind of talk about like the debate around pacifiers. Now, the pacifier debate is coming close to like the nursing or formula feeding like debate. Usually parents are really strong in what they believe, and I've even had some people say like, because my son, one of the alternatives or whatever that I'm going to talk about later is he does suck on his hand, like right here. He doesn't suck on his fingers, but he does suck on his hand right here. And we were just at like a gathering of like friends and friends of friends and friends of friends and all that kind of stuff, and like we had like we had no pacifier, and my son was kind of like sucking on his hand a little bit, and it was just like, oh my gosh, you don't want him to start doing that because they're gonna be a thumb sucker, and you can take a pacifier away, and just like all those kind of little comments. So like it's like really strong like beliefs like among the people who either use pacifiers or don't use pacifiers. We try to choose like alternatives. Again, we have it just in case of an emergency, but like we're not against pacifiers and we're not for pacifiers. We're like right down the middle of the road. I think if a child needs a pacifier, then give it to them. If they need that like sucking, like that's part of a baby's like reflexes, sucking and stuff. So I was like going to give my daughter a pacifier. And then when she didn't, like, I kind of like changed into the middle of the road with the whole pacifier thing. A lot of people think that we are doing stuff the hard way, and where if you just gave them a pacifier, they'd be fine. But as it turns out, my kids didn't want the pacifier for like soothing or for like stuff like that. My daughter didn't want it at all, even though we almost did try to force it on her, and she just didn't want it. And then it was like, okay, we had to change our mindset that she didn't want it and she didn't need it. And with my son, again, just in emergencies, and he has not used the pacifier for like over a month. Like, I had to dig it out, like, and it's kind of like gross, but I had to like dig it out. Okay, so anyways, so the parents who like give pacifiers to their kids usually don't want their kids to be thumb suckers, and can say that like they can take it away. Okay, so on the flip side of that, I know parents who cannot take the pacifier away from their kids. I have a couple of friends whose 3-year-olds still have their pacifier, and they're trying to break them of it, or like it's only in the car, or it's only at nap time, or things like that. There's like those issues with that. Now, like the parents who absolutely refuse to give their kids pacifiers, sometimes they are thumb suckers, but sometimes they're not. Now, going over like the big huge debate, and again, you will have your own opinion. I have my own opinion. Again, I'm kind of down the middle of the road. I think it's okay to give a pacifier, but I think that you should not have a pacifier once your kid like is off of a bottle. And we try to get our kids, or we did with my daughter. We got her off of a bottle before she was 1, and we are going to do the same thing with my son. We're going to get him off of a bottle and onto a sippy cup then. So I just think that it's just in the infant stage is when a pacifier is needed. That is just my opinion, and again, people agree or disagree with me. It just depends on who you are and what your situation is, and every child is different. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about some things that I have learned about pacifiers. So this is kind of like the older style of like pacifiers. These have been around since I was little. This shape and things like this is pretty much the standard one. Okay, so now they have these, and these go with different bottles. Like you can buy like sets, like this is like the Soothie set or whatever. So the bottle nipple matches the like pacifier nipple. So you can get sets like this, so that way there's no nipple confusion, except this they'll get milk out of and this they won't. Now we nurse our son. He nurses at night and in the morning, and then he gets a bottle during the day, and we've had great success with that. But if we were like solely bottle feeding, or we were using a pacifier often, this is what I would want to do based on like what I've like learned and researched and things like that. So then once the bottle is gone, hopefully this can be gone too. So if we were doing like pacifier and like bottle all the time and things like that, that is what we would go for. Okay, but there's like tons of different like shapes and sizes of pacifiers out there. Like it's crazy. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about our alternatives. Oh my gosh, that's really hard to say. Our alternatives for pacifiers and kind of what we do. Okay, so again, so this is for emergency purposes only. Again, we haven't dug this out in forever, and hopefully he is done with it and it will just be gone. Okay, so what we have and what works the best for something for my son to like kind of like do a soothing or a sucking or things like that is this part of his fist. And it's just right here. It's not like he doesn't get any of his fingers, but he does suck right here, or like gnaw on like this part of his hand. That is the best thing. He can do it himself. When he lays down, he can like have that like right there. We don't like put his hand next to his mouth or like make him like suck on his hand or anything. It's just something that he has started doing, but that is the best thing that he likes. The second thing that he likes the best, that works the best, is one of our fingers. I usually like use like my pinky, or it depends on like if he like my pinky is sore, if he's like doing his teething like gnawing kind of stuff and not like such a sucking, I'll give him like one of my other fingers to chew on, or my thumb, or like this part of my thumb, like kind of my knuckle. He really likes that. And then if neither of those are available, like for pacifier alternatives, I'm not talking about bottles or nursing or anything like that, because my son does prefer to nurse over a bottle. But as for a pacifier, for pacifier like case only, it is either his hand or mommy or daddy's hand, or we have had him suck on either the rubber things that are on like toys for teething. He will suck on this, or fabric, some kind of fabric. He loves to like suck on his blankets. Now he doesn't put the whole thing in his mouth or anything like that, or like try to choke on it or anything like that, but he does like to like get a piece of fabric wet, or a wet washcloth even works, get it wet and then just suck on that. So that is kind of like our pacifier alternatives that we use that work for my son. Again, every baby is different, every story is different, every parent is different. So it just depends on what your child wants and what works for them, and just kind of like what you learn along the way. Again, things are completely different with my son than they were with my daughter. Some stuff is the same, but we've kind of had to do a whole like figuring out each one of them separately. And I kind of remember stuff that we did with my daughter that I've tried with my son, but so far things have been different with both of them. So again, with your kids or your friends' kids or something, pacifier story is different for everybody. My main goal was to not have my child like stuck on a pacifier or stuck on a bottle. So we kind of try to resolve those issues before they come up, so that way it's not a big huge like drama story with the pacifiers. So we have been very, very lucky with our kids not wanting pacifiers, so then we don't even have to deal with that down the road. But anyways, any questions or comments? If you agree with pacifiers, if you like strongly disagree with pacifiers, or if you're middle of the road like I am, or if you have a story to share, please leave those below. Anyways, you all have a wonderful day. Bye guys.